good.
Good evening. We'll call the Planning Commission meeting to order at 5:30. First of all, I'd like to welcome our newest member, Abe Gassenpour.
Thank you.
Welcome. First, we'll have call to order. Dan?
All right, roll call. Chris Bryant,
Here.
Abe Gassenpour,
Here.
Joe Chappell,
Here.
Don McBride,
Here.
and Cheryl Cheryl Paget.
Yes.
Sorry.
Here.
Thanks. All right.
All right. Are there any public comments this evening about what we have on the agenda? None. You have some? Do you want to speak now, or would you like to wait until we come to the portion that you are here about? You'd rather wait? Okay. Is there any other person that has a comment about anything else? Okay. Oh, you want to wait? Okay, that's perfect. All right, the first thing that we do now would be to approve some previous minutes. It looks like we may have 3 minutes
Yes.
to get approved. We will do them one at a time. The first one will be June 13th, 2019.
Yeah, and that was when the only 2 members that I need on that is Chris Bryant and Don McBride. The rest were not present at the time, or we've had a couple, or one
Okay,
resignation, so.
So moved.
it's up to
Don,
you.
you and I are the only ones that can vote on this.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
Don and Chris are the only ones.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he made
So
the
you'll have to
motion.
second.
You
I'll
second?
second.
Okay.
I didn't even hear it.
Okay,
I was reading.
Do I need
Yeah,
to
no
vote
problem.
on this?
All
I
in
haven't been
favor?
involved in those.
Yeah, no, just Don and I, because we're
okay,
the
so
only
I
ones.
guess we're
You
okay
don't
with
even
the
have to
2.
all in favor.
I don't, do I?
Both aye? Yep.
Aye.
Right, okay. Then we have September the 12th, 2019.
Yep, and that was the one where Chris Bryant was absent, so it'd be up to Cheryl, Joe, and Don for the voting of that
I
one.
make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right. And then the last one, or I'm sorry, on the 10th, it was also Cheryl, Joe, and Chris.
Okay,
Okay, I make a motion.
Second.
okay, those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
Looks like we're all
Yep, we're
cleared
good
up
with
now.
that. We're all caught up on the
We're
minutes.
current.
Yep.
All right. Number 4 is the PC application number 19-010, which we will have discussion and possible action on a request for a special use permit to allow for an antique store in the R2 General Residential District located at 1324 West Noble, and that previously was the West Side Fire Station. So we have a staff report, Dan?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, as you indicated, the property is located at Noble and 13th, which was the former fire station or the city. As indicated, the property is zoned R2. Per the zoning ordinance, you are allowed to have an antique or a retail antique store within an enclosed building in an R2 through the special use permit process. And just to kind of remind the commission, a special use permit is a recommendation from the planning commission and then a final approval by the city council. So regardless of tonight, it would go to the city council for a final decision. The property, as you saw before, is facing Noble. It is on the corner there. But the primary, or the facade or the face of it is off of Noble. There's an existing driveway. There is an alley in the rear of the property. When staff looked at it, from a use standpoint, it did not appear that the use would have really a detrimental impact to the neighborhood. Because of this, they're looking to utilize 700 square feet of basically commercial or display area, which is fairly small, so it would not generate a substantial amount of public. And being located on Noble Avenue, obviously that's already a high-traffic road, given that it's a state highway. So this use probably would not, or likely would not add to add to any traffic issues in the area. In your report, I did put in there the section of the code that refers to special use permits and the factors that should be considered. A lot of that is just going over the, making sure it doesn't have a negative impact. One of the other aspects that we do have to look at is parking. Currently, with the 700 square foot area, it would require 5 parking spaces because it comes to basically a decimal. It comes to 4.6 spaces, which would jump it up to 5. Based on that area, or based on that commercial area, the applicant would not have enough area in the back to provide the 5 spaces that are required. Because with an ADA space as well as the other 4 parking spaces, it would take about 53 feet. He only has a 50-foot wide lot. However, I did talk with the applicant beforehand, and he can speak to this, and if you want to say agree to it, I guess. We did look at that even by dropping it 50 square feet of display area, just dropping it to 650, that only requires 4 spots because, again, with the fraction, it had bumped it up. So with the 4 spots and dropping it to 650 square feet, that would enable him to have enough room to put the parking. I'll just end with that I had indicated in my staff report to the commission, if we were to hold to the 700 square feet, that, again, one of the options was to reduce the display area. There is also an option, if he wanted to keep 700 square feet, to go to the Board of Adjustment to get a variance to the parking requirements. I would say in general, there may be, there would be decent consideration to have a reduction because our parking requirements are kind of intensive for some of those uses. So 5 spaces is probably a little much. But anyway, at that, I'll leave it back to the commission, and then the applicant is here to speak.
Okay.
Would that be something that if we approved it for 650? Then he would just have the option of going to the Board of Adjustment?
Well, yeah, at that point, if he's agreeable to 650 and you guys approve it at 650, you only require 4 parking spaces, which he can physically provide. So there would be really no need to go to the Board of Adjustment unless he.
But if he wanted to use
Right, if
those.
you wanted to reduce it farther than the 4 to maybe like 2 or 3, because again, he feels that 4 is too much, then that would still need to go to the Board of Adjustment. But it's one of those things where he couldn't go to the Board of Adjustment first because he technically doesn't have an approved use or an allowable use.
Is
there.
Are the parking spots all existing?
No. He would have to, he's gonna have to physically prove some parking. Because, and I should add, and it was in your staff report, one of the things the code talks about is parking in the front of any residential area. Basically, the one part of the code says you cannot utilize the front area. And then there's another part that is somewhat related to where you can have parking. So we could, or the commission could say, well, we could kind of use the one area, which still requires a 15-foot setback. So if you take the 15-foot setback requirement and then have parking after that, you need about 35 feet in the front, which he probably only has about 12 or 18. So that's why he's in essence forced to put the parking in the back.
I see.
Where did all the firemen park whenever there was a fire station?
In the back, yeah. In the back and the front. And, it's one of those things, I'll be honest,
And on the
it-
side?
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's required off-street parking by the code. If it were to be approved, are there gonna be people that probably park on the side road and that?
Absolutely.
Sure, there will
Yeah.
be. And that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. But from a code standpoint, they do have to have a minimum of, X amount of off-street parking per their use. And the same thing, even if they were to park in front,
Or in the alley or
Yeah,
whatever.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
But again, we're looking at meeting the code requirements for parking.
So would it be best for us to approve it for 650?
Yes, we can ask the applicant. I think he's going to be fine with that, but I would, propose it to the applicant to have
Okay,
him
good.
state that he
Yeah.
definitely would reduce it.
I can cut it down to 650.
I noticed here that it says 700 square feet, but it indicates that there is a bath and a kitchen downstairs, wouldn't that take off the 50 feet already? You can't
No,
display
because
there?
the 700 square feet is basically the actual area is going to be used.
see.
Because the
Okay.
building in his area that he lives in and that is much larger than 700
Okay.
square feet,
Okay.
yeah.
He's gonna be living upstairs then. That building is two-story, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
you'll be living
About-
upstairs, so you're talking not downstairs on the old fire
Downstairs,
station.
It's,
Oh, sir, or if you could just come to the mic, that way we get, yeah, thank
And
you.
if you don't mind, state your name and address.
Charlie Smith, 1324 West Noble. It's a commercial building in R2. It used to be the fire station. But the design of the building looks like a house. It's got that barn-style roof.
The Gambrel.
But when I bought it, the whole downstairs was wide open. There weren't any walls because they had to put their fire truck in there. And I thought it would make a good place to have a little store. It's on the corner, it's on Noble, and it's just, I was hoping that the front of the fire station is a double wide driveway, because they had to have a wide driveway for the fire truck. Do you have a picture of the
We do.
diagram of the?
We actually do,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there-
See where
there's
I,
the- yeah.
see the
Yeah.
parking in front?
and you can actually see it here in this
That's
picture.
large enough for two cars, and I thought that would be used. And then there's two parking places behind my garage.
How far is it from the building to the street? Do
Oh,
you-
he's got plenty of room from building to
It-
street. It's probably
right, I didn't
40
know.
feet or so.
The front of the building to the
Street.
street,
I'm under the impression it's
Probably a bit.
35 feet required. Is that
Right, and
correct?
it appeared by the aerial, and again, I didn't have a specific survey in that it was maybe set back about 20 feet from property line.
Yeah, it looks
Okay.
like
I mean, from the street, it's
From-
obviously more,
More.
but from the property line,
Which
it's
is on the
probably, right.
other side of the
Not
sidewalk.
including the
are you
easement.
Right,
including
not-
the
yeah.
sidewalk?
No.
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 No, from the actual property line, because there is basically undeveloped, if you want to say right-of-way or easement from, the actual street pavement to the parking. But again, the parking has to be provided on-site. It can't be off-site. So on the property in that. So again, that setback I was talking about would be from your property line in. It wouldn't be from edge of pavement in. So from your property line to the front, it appeared it's around 20 feet.
Could I go to the Board of Adjustment
could.
and get a variance to use that as off-street parking?
Yes, you could do one of two things, either get a variance to that or also get a variance to the number of parking spaces or all the above.
Okay, well, another thing is, by those two parking spaces in front of the building, they don't block the sidewalk or anything, and it's, like I said, it's wide enough for two
You've got
cars
plenty of
easily.
room there for
Yeah.
parking.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Could you put one more parking in the back if you had to?
Sure. I
Two-
can.
it looks
I
like-
have a large backyard.
Yeah.
I
No.
can put,
But
I have
he's only
to,
using 650 square feet,
you
you
only
won't
use
have to add
650, you
anything,
just-
right?
Right.
No, well, yeah, right. If you could
Right.
use the two up front, the
Front.
two in the back,
Yeah.
that would meet his parking
Yeah.
requirement.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he'd have to put four in the back.
And
But
then you-
we can't
yeah.
approve with the two in the front?
No, no.
Okay.
The only thing you would be approving is that he would be, basically meeting the parking requirement.
Right.
Based on 650 square foot.
Okay.
It would be up to him to determine how he wants to do that, whether it be to go to the Board of Adjustment for a variance or put all four parking spaces in the back.
Okay.
But again, as I said before, he really can't go to the Board of Adjustment to get a variance on something that hasn't been allowed or
Right.
approved
So
through
we
the
need to,
process. Yeah,
we need to approve it
yeah.
Yeah.
for six.
So we're not approving this site plan
Right,
because it shows the parking in the front.
Right.
Right, right.
we're just,
We're approving the use.
we're approving the
Yes.
use.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The use.
yeah. And that's why, like I said, even if you look when I put the code section factors to be considered, a lot of it had to do with the use and potential impact to the surrounding area, more so than specific code requirements.
Okay.
My question, I don't know if this is a question for us, but I just wonder who it's a question for, is what about signage? What would be allowed?
He would only be allowed to put up what would be allowed in a residential zoning district, which is very limited.
small outside sign.
Yes,
or a buil-
basically
or
one
a
little
building
sign outside.
What about one of those open flags you see all over town?
I wouldn't know why you couldn't use that.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the code, to be honest with you,
Okay.
but there is, some signage that you can have in a residential area, just like when we have some that have uses like an office at home or whatever, kind of like a home occupation almost. It would in essence probably fall under that aspect and that, so again, I'd have to look at the code, but there would be some allowance, but it is very limited because it's a residential area. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to have a big freestanding
No,
sign out
no.
on Noble.
I wasn't planning
Yeah.
on it.
Right.
And the only customers I'm going to get are people driving down Noble. When people come to Guthrie to shop at the stores, they do the two-block antique stores and all the other stores right there. No one's going to drive from downtown to my place. I'm only going to get customers going up and down Noble.
You're gonna look like a garage sale.
Exactly.
Well, hey, I live a few blocks away, so I'll be one of your customers. Might even walk there.
Where do you live?
There were
15th and
there were no
Cleveland.
letters of.
No, I did not
Oh, you
receive
did?
any phone calls
15th and
or
Cleveland.
letters of objection for this particular item, and I'm not sure if there's one gentleman, it appears that he wants to speak on the
Yes.
item, so we'll let,
If Mr.
Yeah.
Smith are you
Well,
through?
one other thing is, even though it's a commercial building, they build it as a commercial building for a fire station.
Right.
But I wanted to make it residential looking because I was going to live in it, okay? So when I first bought it, it looked commercial because you got the big overhead door. And so I did everything I could to make it look like there were windows on that overhead door. That's paint, those aren't windows.
I
It
thought-
looks good.
I thought it was.
Okay,
So
okay.
it blends in with the neighborhood, in other words.
Yes.
Now, if it was a normal square or rectangle facade, like some of the buildings downtown, that'd be a different story, but it actually looks like a house.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes,
that's all I've got.
thank you. Sir, would you like to speak? State your name and address.
My name's Greg Webb, and I live at 1321 West Warner. I have the house that's immediately behind this property. When I bought that house, there was still a fire wagon in that building. And then it went away and sat there empty for a long time. I mowed the grass, I couldn't tell you how many times, because the city didn't. And then it was sold. He moved in. I do not want a business out my backyard. I do not want him to be putting concrete parking area for people to come in and shop in his store right out my back gate. That's where I go, that's where I pull into the yard. That's my driveway. I don't need my driveway being public access to a business. And if you're gonna allow him to vary the square footage in there, take the whole amount that's available into consideration, not what he says he's going to use. And figure out your parking.
Where you drive in at, is that not an alley?
Yeah.
Okay.
I pull right in and.
So it's
then
not
turn
your
into
private driveway, it's an alley.
no, yeah,
Not
It's pu-
not
it's
my
pu- yeah.
private driveway.
It's a
it is
public
an alley.
Public.
But it's a narrow alley, and I dang sure don't need it clogged up with business at an antique shop. That's a residential area, it needs to stay that way and not have a business on that corner.
Okay,
I don't need to see concrete, I can't even see Noble now for the garage he put up, and I don't believe it's even sitting where it should be. I believe it's built too far to the west.
Well, that's not what we're here to discuss.
Well, I understand that.
Okay.
Very well. But it's still, I have a right to be here to object to
Oh,
having that
Yeah.
residence turned into a business.
yes.
I don't need that in my neighborhood.
Okay.
I don't need the trash that accompanies a business. I don't need that kind of traffic coming in and out of that alley. There's 4 or 5 people who use that alley as a way to park their vehicles. I don't need it being traffic in there. Noble and 13th is not a street you want to park on the side of the street to visit a building. It's not that wide, and it's a heavily trafficked street there.
Right.
But you consider everything, I mean, the whole amount that he could use, and right then, in your words alone, prevents him from ever even doing it.
Thank you for your comments. And we'll take all that into consideration. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Yes, sir? Name and address, please.
John Lejeski, 221 North 13th. I sit catty corner from it.
Okay.
I agree with the not having, I moved into that house 18 years ago, 20 years ago, for a residential area, not a business area. If I wanted to move in next to a business, I would have moved into one of the apartments downtown. I'll disagree with the front parking space also. I don't know if it's your little MG type car that you have, little small black car, that barely fits between his front door and the sidewalk. Any events that go on down in the flats, we have people that park up in front of the house and stuff, so I can't see that an actual business is going to be able to keep their parking within their area. 13th Street is a heavily trafficked street back and forth. Noble, they pass each other on the right, so any parking he has in the front, then backing out is going to cause opportunity for accidents. But my biggest was I didn't move into a residential area to be next to a business of any sort. So
Okay.
that's mine.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Do we have any more comments or discussion here with commissioners? No?
And I have a question, and Mr.
Yes.
Smith, that you live there, how many vehicles do you have? You own how many vehicles?
3.
3 vehicles. So are we talking about additional parking lot beside your 3 vehicles?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have,
I've got a big backyard.
okay.
And what will be your expected operating hours for the business? When will you be
Oh, that's
open?
another thing. I was only going to be open 3 days a week, 11 to 5.
Okay.
And if people park in the back, they're not going to park in the alley. They're going to come in, go through the store, and leave. And most of my neighbors around there are gone during the day anyway.
Well, the question that, since you have 3 vehicles, it comes to mind myself, where are they going to be parked during this time? Because you have limited parking.
In the garage.
All
2
3
of them.
2 of them? Okay. All right.
Be hard pressed to put 4 more vehicles on that yard with 3 in the back already.
I know that there are 2 storage buildings on the east side of your property line.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those do take up a little bit of room. I drove by there today.
They're up near the house.
Probably, they're parallel with the garage, aren't they, but closer to the south?
Closer to the south.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's my question. Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a few comments.
Okay, please.
And I respect the neighbors' comments and appreciate their time being here. I think on the west side of Guthrie, we've lost some commercial activity that we used to have because of the floodplain and also because of the bridge construction. And so there's really not a lot of places where we can have commerce on the west side that is walkable from a neighborhood. I personally would like to have more places that I could walk to. Jeep Mart is pretty much the only one, and they have some things. But I think of neighborhoods as like an ecosystem, and I think having some light uses is compatible. It is in line with the R2 zoning currently. But also, I think this property owner, live-work units really allow a property owner to live and have a livelihood more comfortably by having a source of income on their property. And also, this building is an asset to the city of Guthrie, and it's historic as a fire station, and this would allow the public to admire its architecture and to enjoy and see what it looks like on the inside. And that's a part of Guthrie's history, so.
I've had a lot of people ask me if they could come see.
Yeah, is there a fire pole?
They put that in the new one, I think.
In there now, it's not the original.
Okay, yeah.
Our former fire chief and mayor took
You
out
need,
the original.
sir, you need to be at,
Oh, no, if you're gonna talk, yeah, come to the mic, because we're.
When you're
yeah.
speaking, you need to be at the mic.
Anyhow, and that's all I have on that.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
One other thing, I believe, doesn't the city get some revenue off the sales tax?
Yeah, we,
Well, yeah.
yeah.
Other comments or questions?
It is a unique building.
Yes, it is.
It's not, it's not like a home, a typical home is being asked to be turned into a business.
Now, are you
And
gonna-
I would think that it might, I'd rather, I think, you know, just me personally, I would rather live next to an antique store than a fire station. But that's just me.
I lived on that block when it was a
And
fire
I
station.
certainly understand the neighbors'
It was
concerns.
awful.
The shale up in there.
And I do want to say to everyone here that we just make a recommendation of the city council. And we always make somebody unhappy. That's just the
Unfortunately.
nature of the,
He would
Yes,
like
sir,
to
if you'd
speak
like to
again,
speak.
yes.
Just a comment on, he said he moved in to buy it as a house. And you said that you moved into your area with the floodplain and everything, moving businesses. Those were areas zoned for business. When you bought your house, there was no other business up there. So I appreciate that you'd like to be able to walk to someplace, but in the same part, you can't say that you're wanting to put into business where there wasn't one. The firehouse hasn't been there for 15 years plus. I mean, I can remember the firehouse being there. We lived there when the firehouse was there. The inside, there's nothing special about the inside of that building. We looked at that building to buy. It was a vacant building on the inside. The upstairs needed renovating. There's nothing historical about the building other than it was one of our fire departments. So using those things to say that we can put a business into a residential area, I don't agree with that. And just because you would like to be able to walk to something besides a gas station, again, towns have business districts for reasons. And that is not a business district, it's a residential district. That just, you guys are going off on, it was a house. He bought it for a house. If he wanted a business, there are plenty of vacant buildings in town he could have rented or bought in order to put his business in that have apartments upstairs, or ability to move his house upstairs like he's done at this one.
So, thank you for those comments.
Thank you, everyone, for comments
I
on
think I
that.
remember when G-Mart came in, that was a house there originally to start
Yes.
with, and they had to come before zoning to change it to a commercial to put a store in.
Gas stations.
I think if I could respond to that concern, I think something that zoning does by having single-use zoning separated, it prevents neighborhoods and cities from growing and adapting and changing over time as the needs change. And so that's just where I stand on that.
Fine, thank you. Okay, with no further comments, we can entertain a motion to approve the use, or to not.
I would make a motion to approve the 650 feet.
I will second.
Chris is
Okay.
second.
Would you roll call that,
Yep.
please?
So Abe Gassenpour,
Yes.
Joe Chappell,
yes.
Don McBride,
Yes.
Chris Bryant,
Yes.
Cheryl Paget.
Yes.
All right, 5-0 recommendation for approval, based on a 650 square foot.
Right.
Okay.
And do remember that your elected officials are going to be making the final decision, so you can go to the city council meeting.
City council.
I'll be there, just let me know when it's going to be.
It, at this point, would go to the first council meeting in December.
December, okay.
Yeah, which I forget offhand, but it'd be the first council,
It's not to be put.
yeah,
Okay, it'll be the first Tuesday,
yeah, first Tuesday in December.
First Tuesday in December?
yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Smart about the face, sir.
Thank you.
Not now.
Well, not now,
We're
because we're
done.
past the item.
We've
Yeah.
already
Yep.
Yeah.
We're on to
passed
the
that,
next one.
but thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next application is 19011. We'll have discussion and possible action on a request to rezone a property located along East Springer Avenue between Cypress and Pine, the town site in Capitol Hill, Block 71, Lots 7 through 9, from R1 Single Family to R2 General Residential. And I think Mr. Kasich has a staff report.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. As you indicated, this is a rezone request from a single-family dwelling R1 to a R2, or general residential. The lot is a 10,500 square foot lot. As you indicated, it's over on the east side. It's just west of the Guthrie Housing Authority and that development there, right on Springer. The applicant is looking to rezone, they want to rezone it to do a duplex. As the commission knows, we can't condition it on that. However, given the size of the lot, if the rezone were approved, the likelihood of having any greater density beyond a duplex is probably very limited, if not impossible, due to lot coverage, setbacks, et cetera. So if there would be any concerns from other people in the area that a huge multifamily is coming in, it just physically isn't possible. As the zoning map shows, there is, as I indicated, to the east, the housing, multifamily housing, also to the north across the street, and even to the west, there is also R2. That entire area by the city's comprehensive plan is designated for multifamily. And also to add to that, the comprehensive plan, when you read into the goals and policies type thing, indicates that a mixed housing such as single-family along with duplexes or even a smaller multifamily should be encouraged in that area to give a diversity of housing options with that. And so with that, staff's recommendation would be to recommend approval of the rezone request. And like any rezone request, this would be a recommendation, and it would go to the city council for their final decision.
Okay, thank you.
And
for
the
re-
applicant is in the audience.
Yes, thank you for the report. Okay, is there any discussion with the planning commission?
Any comment?
Maybe not, any comments? Do we have anyone that wishes to speak in reference to this? Are you the applicant? Would you like to say anything?
Oh, yeah, come on. Tell us what you want to do.
And just state your name and address, please.
Thank you. I'm Angela Watson. I reside at 1713 Kyle Drive in Guthrie. I have probably met everyone here because in 2012, my husband and I started a real estate investment company and decided we'd work with the city of Guthrie to try to refurbish some of these dilapidated neighborhoods. And Capitol Hill area is one that we've been doing quite a bit of work in, as well as other areas. But there aren't very many houses at all in the middle of that area. So what we wanted to do is to put a duplex there on those lots 7 through 9 of Block 71. We feel like it would enhance that area and provide some additional quality housing options for the citizens of Guthrie.
I'm sure you've probably already looked at floor plans and things like that, and have you spoken with?
Yes.
Mr. Cassie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many square feet are you expecting for each apartment to be?
1,000.
1,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I was just going to add, that's kind of what got us to the point of rezoning, because she had come in and talked to us, and that's when we found the zoning was R1. So before she could move forward, we would need to get the
Change
R2.
it to R2?
Yep.
And you're aware that there would have to be 1.5 parking spaces for each side?
Well, we did visit about that as well.
I just want to make sure that you were aware of some of the
Did you
requirements.
say 1.5?
Yes.
How does that work?
Well,
There are garages, there's a one-car garage plan for each one.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So one is,
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
yeah.
because basically, yeah,
Apron on the
yeah,
side.
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So the
I don't think there's going to be an issue with that.
Okay.
One of the things we discussed is because it's multifamily, they wouldn't be required to have a two-stall garage because that's on the single-family side.
Single family, right.
But, yeah, so that part they wouldn't have to have.
Okay, thank you very much.
What kind of structure are you putting in there?
It will be a sided like the rest of the area. I did have a picture, but
Yeah, I
this
didn't have-
wasn't
yeah.
actually where we were to.
It's like some cement board siding or something like that.
Yeah,
that nature.
again, yeah, I mean, it's going to be comparable to the area. Like I said, I didn't include it because it honestly, as you know, it's a land use decision and it really isn't tailored to having that specific development, so I didn't provide it for that reason.
May I share?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
We might hold you to that.
Well, if you've seen their remodels,
Yeah,
they're
I have seen
really
them. Yeah,
nice.
they're nice.
Yeah, that's very,
I've seen them.
very
Oh, really?
attractive.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen her remodel.
Oh, you have? Oh, cool.
I've seen several of them.
Oh, really?
Nice
Wow.
job.
Where are you? You said in Capitol Hill, but where?
Most of them are in that area.
Really?
But
Okay.
they redid the house over by Banner Park on the south.
Oh.
Yes.
Right, oh, wow.
Southwest corner, just.
Yes, that's
lovely.
nice.
And a couple of years before that, we did one on, up the street on 70.
You did one off Broad Street too, did you?
We have,
Blue house with a yellow door or something? Yeah, it's really cute.
it's on.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm going to have to drive by and see.
Good. It looks
Okay,
Yeah, they're
this.
doing good things
see.
for Guthrie.
And it's got 3 beds. That's cool. Very good. I'm glad to see that somebody's really interested in doing that.
I'm from Guthrie.
Okay.
So I want to at least see something that resembles a neighborhood again.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. We appreciate that very much.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll say.
So we have a motion by Joe and Don, you said?
Don.
second?
Don
Okay.
seconded.
Second for approval. All right. Chris Bryant,
Yes.
Abe Gassenport.
Yes.
Joe Chappell,
Yes.
Don McBride,
Yes.
Cheryl Paget.
Yes.
All right, so we got a 5-0 recommendation for approval. All right.
All right, staff comments.
No, the only thing I had was what you said before is, as you see, we have a new commissioner. Welcome, Abe. He was appointed at the last city council meeting, so now we're back to a full 5-member commission.
I think
Yay.
I'll end up learning how to say his last name.
Well, I appreciate your welcome, and I'm looking forward to working with you
Good,
guys in
thank
here, and
you.
hopefully we do something good for Guthrie. That was my intention. I didn't have no business being here, but I'm looking forward to
Good,
helping
thank you.
improve the Guthrie, so.
Okay,
Oh, you'll make all kinds of friends.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah. Staff comments, starting with Joe.
Commissioner comments.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
You're right, and I'm wrong. Aaron, strike that.
Yeah.
Joe, commissioner comments.
Oh, Commissioner comment?
Yes.
Oh, I'd just like to welcome Gabe. That's it.
Welcome, Abe,
Thank you.
and we had a successful night.
I'll settle for a cake
That
later.
was short.
Cake later. Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome, Abe. And just to echo my comments earlier, we've had several items come through the commission recently of rezoning and thinking about the tension between uses and neighborhoods. And I know that's a hard thing, but like I said, I think of neighborhoods as like ecosystems that grow and change over time. And hopefully we can allow some adaptation and some mix of uses. But also I think if if an applicant, this is for anyone coming before us, if an applicant is proposing a rezoning or something and they know there's opposition from neighbors, I would really encourage you to get together with your neighbors and have a meeting and talk about how what you're trying to do might be a benefit to the neighborhood and try to work out some of those things beforehand, because I think that can go a long way towards, generating goodwill towards one another. So that would just be my recommendation for future applicants.
Very good. Abe, do you have some comments?
My comment is thank you for welcoming me, and I hope I'll be an asset, so I'm looking forward to it.
We appreciate you being here, and be here all the time, and we will love it.
Thank you.
Okay. My only comments are, I really appreciate being here myself. I want to make Guthrie a better place, and I appreciate what you all are doing. It makes it nice that someone's willing and interested in that. I have no further comments, so if that's the case, we are